Hello again, friends. I've been playing around with a troll deck that I built for the Dragon Flag. For those of you unaware, the Dragon Flag has you start with 12 life, 4 cards in hand, and you can use any cards from any world so long as they have dragon in their attribute name. That includes cards like Armordragons that have dragon as a sub-string of what their actual archetype is, and goes all the way to Dragon Knights, Golden Dragons, Dragon Lords, so on and so forth. And that makes some very interesting combinations for what kinds of decks you can use. And I'm all about mixing in Vanguard, or at least I was before it became cancerous. So I took the first opportunity to go ahead and just try and make one of these decks and see what I could do. And I came up with a fairly reasonably strong deck that focused on Inferno Armordragon as a size 3 and abusing different size 3 support from Ancient World while having a total of, I think, 16 size 3s, weapons, dragon shields to protect myself, and Ancient World spells to kind of accelerate my hand and my gauge. And that all worked out pretty nicely. But then I decided to have a little bit of fun because Rise and Fall of Dragons is a counter that gives you 4 gauge, and then there's all of these different beautiful impacts that Dragon World has. So I wanted to try and combine the two for a relatively hilarious combination deck. And it's very inconsistent with a 4-card starting hand and all of these different setup pieces, but when everything does come together, it makes for one hilarious combo. So for starters, I have Grand Railgun Dragon, whichever, and it is pay 3 gauge to deal 3 damage to your opponent. You can only do it once per turn. And that card has made some hilarious combinations just because of what it opens up. And you can see that I did 3 damage, I popped them for 1 with Boomerang, and then I used Rise and Fall. Now I have a ridiculous amount of gauge. Pay 4 gauge, blow up their creatures, and deal 2 damage to them. And then, after their creatures get destroyed and they take that 2 damage, now they have no creatures, so I can steal Dragon Barrage, which is just pay 3 gauge. If they have no creatures, deal 4 damage to them. And the deck very much works in a synergistic wombo-combo-y kind of fashion to that regard. And it can create some hilarious OTKs. They are not consistent enough to be a problem. This deck is pretty much just for the fun of it. And I do have quite a bit of fun playing it. So here is a prime example of like ultimate sacking. Like I cannot transcend this level of sack. So I start off with Grand Rail Cannon in my hand. And then I have Dragon Emperor Legend, which gave me just enough gauge to do everything that I needed to do. Pay 3, deal 3 to him, attack him for 2, he has to take it, so he drops to 5. Rise and Fall, gain 4 gauge, and then finish him with Roaring Slash Gargantua Punisher costing 5 gauge. The cheese is real. The salt is realer. More real? Realer. No, more real. The salt is more real.